The power of one small habit. Starting with just one tiny habit is incredibly powerful and also incredibly gentle. Think about something as simple as putting your keys in the same spot every day when you get home, or drinking a glass of water when you first wake up. These little things don't require willpower or dramatic changes to your life. What's beautiful about small habits is how they build on themselves without any stress. You do the small thing and it feels easy. After a while, it becomes automatic. And once it's automatic, you barely think about it anymore. It just happens naturally, like breathing or walking. The relief in this approach is that you don't have to overhaul your entire life or stick to some complicated system. You just pick one small thing that takes maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and you do it consistently. That's it. No pressure, no guilt if you miss a day, just gentle consistency. Over time, these small habits create a foundation. They make your life feel a little more organized, a little more intentional, without any of the stress that usually comes with trying to change. It's like your life gets slightly more peaceful, one tiny step at a time. 2. The stillness of morning rituals. Your morning sets the tone for everything else that follows. So having a calm, simple routine can make your entire day feel more manageable. This isn't about waking up at 5 a.m. or doing an hour of meditation. It's about finding a few simple things that help you start the day feeling centered. Maybe it's making your coffee slowly instead of rushing through it. Maybe it's spending 2 minutes looking out the window or writing down one thing you're looking forward to. The key is that these activities feel good to you, not like obligations you have to check off a list. Morning rituals work because they give you a sense of control and calm before the day gets busy. When you have this quiet time to yourself, you're starting from a place of peace rather than immediately jumping into stress and demands. The discipline here isn't rigid, it's flexible. If you usually spend 5 minutes journaling but you're running late one day, maybe you just take 3 deep breaths instead. The goal is to maintain that feeling of intentional calm, however small it might be on any given day. 3. The art of gentle boundaries. Setting boundaries doesn't have to be confrontational or harsh. It can be as simple as deciding not to check your phone for the first hour after you wake up, or choosing to leave work conversations at work instead of bringing them home in your mind. Good boundaries are really about protecting your energy and peace of mind. When you're clear about what you will and won't do, you spend less mental energy on decision-making and stress. You create space for yourself to breathe and be present. This might look like saying no to social plans when you're feeling drained, or deciding that you won't discuss certain topics that always lead to arguments. It's not about being difficult or antisocial. It's about being honest about what helps you feel balanced. The beautiful thing about gentle boundaries is that they often make you a better friend, partner, or colleague because you're not constantly feeling resentful or overwhelmed. When you take care of your own needs, you show up as a more relaxed, genuine version of yourself. 4. The peace of digital sunset. Just as the natural world has rhythms of light and darkness, you can create your own digital sunset by choosing a time each evening when you put your devices away. This isn't about completely avoiding technology, but about giving yourself a break from the constant input and stimulation. When you step away from screens in the evening, your mind naturally starts to slow down. The thoughts that have been racing all day begin to settle. You might notice sounds you hadn't heard before, or realize how tense your shoulders had become from looking down at your phone. This practice creates a buffer zone between the busy energy of the day and the restful energy of sleep. Instead of scrolling through news or social media right before bed, you might read a book, have a real conversation, or simply sit quietly with a cup of tea. You don't have to make this complicated. Maybe you just decide that after 8 p.m. your phone stays in another room. Or maybe you choose to stop checking emails after dinner. The goal is to create some space where your mind can decompress naturally, without the pull of notifications and endless information. 5. The discipline of letting go. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop holding on to something that isn't serving you anymore. This could be a grudge that you've been carrying, a perfectionist standard that's making you miserable, or a commitment that you took on but no longer have energy for. Letting go isn't about giving up or being irresponsible. It's about being honest about what's actually helping your life and what's just weighing you down. When you release something that's been draining your energy, you suddenly have more space for things that genuinely matter to you. This practice requires a different kind of discipline, the discipline of being honest with yourself about what's working and what isn't. It takes courage to admit when something isn't worth the stress it's causing, even if other people think you should stick with it. The relief that comes with letting go is immediate. It's like setting down a heavy bag you didn't realize you were carrying. Your shoulders relax, your breathing deepens, and you remember what it feels like to move through life without unnecessary weight. 6. The rhythm of monotasking. In a world that glorifies multitasking, there's something deeply restful about doing just one thing at a time. When you focus completely on whatever you're doing, whether it's washing dishes, writing an email, or having a conversation, the quality of your attention changes everything. Monotasking isn't about being more productive, though that often happens naturally. It's about being more present. When you're fully engaged with one task, your mind stops jumping around between different concerns and settles into a calmer rhythm. You might notice that tasks take less mental energy when you're not dividing your attention. Washing dishes becomes a few minutes of warm water and simple motions. Writing that email becomes a brief moment of clear communication. The task itself becomes easier because you're not fighting mental resistance or distraction. This approach to discipline is gentle because it works with your natural ability to focus rather than against it. You're not forcing yourself to concentrate, you're simply choosing to let your attention rest in one place at a time, which is actually how your mind works best. 7. The sanctuary of evening routines. Just as morning routines help you start the day with intention, evening routines help you end the day with a sense of completion and peace. This doesn't need to be elaborate. It's more about creating a gentle transition from the active energy of day to the restorative energy of night. Maybe your evening routine is as simple as tidying up the kitchen, changing into comfortable clothes, and reading for 15 minutes. Or maybe it's taking a warm shower, writing down 3 things that went well that day, and setting out your clothes for tomorrow. The key is that these activities signal to your mind and body that the day's work is finished. You're shifting gears from doing mode to being mode, from engagement with the outside world to connection with your own inner rhythm. Evening routines create a sense of closure that makes it easier to rest. When you know you've taken care of the basic things and prepared for tomorrow, your mind doesn't have to keep working while you're trying to sleep. You can let go more completely. 8. The grace of imperfect progress. One of the most important aspects of sustainable self-discipline is accepting that you won't be perfect, and that's completely fine. Progress isn't a straight line. It's more like a spiral, where you sometimes circle back to old patterns before moving forward again. This means that if you skip your morning routine one day, or eat something you'd planned to avoid, or forget to do that small habit you've been building, it's not a failure. It's just part of being human. The discipline is in returning to your intention without self-criticism. When you can be gentle with yourself about imperfection, you're much more likely to stick with positive changes over time. Harsh self-judgment usually leads to giving up entirely, while self-compassion leads to trying again tomorrow. Think of self-discipline as a practice rather than a performance. You're learning a skill, and like any skill, it gets better with time and patience. Some days you'll feel more motivated, some days less. Both are normal and acceptable parts of the process. 9. The wisdom of natural rhythms. Your body and mind have natural cycles of energy and rest, focus and relaxation. Working with these rhythms instead of against them makes discipline feel much more sustainable and pleasant. You start to notice when you naturally feel more alert, when you need breaks, when you're ready for sleep. Maybe you're most creative in the morning, or maybe your mind is sharpest in the afternoon. Maybe you have bursts of energy, followed by periods where you need to recharge. There's no right or wrong pattern. There's just your pattern, and learning to work with it. When you align your activities with your natural energy levels, everything becomes easier. You're not forcing yourself to be productive when your body wants to rest, and you're not trying to relax when your mind is naturally active. This approach to self-discipline is about partnership rather than domination. You're working with yourself, not against yourself. You're learning to be a good friend to your own rhythms and needs. 10. The meditation of mundane tasks. Ordinary activities like folding laundry, chopping vegetables, or organizing a drawer can become opportunities for a kind of moving meditation. When you bring full attention to these simple tasks, they stop being chores and become moments of calm focus. The key is doing these activities without rushing or thinking about 10 other things. You just focus on the physical sensations, the texture of fabric, the sound of the knife on the cutting board, the satisfaction of creating order. Your mind gets a break from its usual chatter. These mundane moments are everywhere in your daily life, which means you have constant opportunities to practice presence without having to set aside special time for formal meditation. You can find calm in the middle of your regular routine. This transforms the character of your day. Instead of just getting through tasks to reach some better moment in the future, you can find peace and satisfaction in whatever you're doing right now. The discipline is simply remembering to be present. 11. The quiet courage of consistency. Consistency doesn't require dramatic willpower or heroic efforts. It's more like the quiet persistence of water wearing smooth stones, gentle, steady, cumulative. You show up, do the small thing, and trust that these daily choices matter even when you can't see immediate results. This kind of consistency is actually quite forgiving. If you miss a day or two, you just return to your practice without making it a big deal. The power is in the overall pattern, not in perfect execution every single day. What makes consistency feel sustainable is keeping your expectations realistic. Instead of committing to hour-long workouts, maybe you commit to 10 minutes of movement. Instead of overhauling your entire diet, maybe you add one healthy meal each day. Small, consistent actions compound over time. The discipline of consistency is really about building trust with yourself. Each time you follow through on a small commitment, you strengthen your confidence that you can do what you say you're going to do. This self-trust becomes a foundation for larger changes when you're ready. The art of mindful transitions. Throughout your day, there are natural transition points between waking up and starting your morning routine, between work tasks, between coming home and settling in for the evening. These moments often get rushed through, but they can become opportunities for brief resets. A mindful transition might be as simple as taking 3 deep breaths before opening your laptop, or pausing for a moment of gratitude before eating lunch, or doing a quick body scan when you get into your car. These small practices help you stay connected to yourself throughout the day. The discipline here is remembering to pause rather than moving automatically from one thing to the next. It's about creating tiny spaces of consciousness that prevent your day from becoming one long blur of activity. These micro moments of mindfulness don't take any extra time, but they can completely change how your day feels. Instead of feeling like you're being pulled along by your schedule, you feel like you're moving through your day with intention and awareness. 13. The discipline of deep listening. Learning to really listen to others, to your environment, to your own thoughts and feelings is a practice that can transform your relationships and your connection to your own life. Deep listening means being fully present rather than planning what you'll say next or judging what you're hearing. When you listen this way to others, conversations become more meaningful and less stressful. When you listen to your own body, you notice when you need rest, movement, or nourishment. When you listen to your emotions, you get valuable information about what's working in your life and what isn't. This isn't about being passive or never expressing your own thoughts. It's about creating space for understanding before responding. It's about being curious rather than reactive. The practice of deep listening naturally slows you down and helps you feel more connected to life as it's actually happening, rather than life as you think it should be happening. It's discipline as presence rather than control. 14. The Gentleness of Self-Accountability. Being accountable to yourself doesn't have to involve harsh criticism or punishment. It can be as gentle as checking in with yourself weekly to notice what's been working well and what you might want to adjust going forward. This kind of accountability is curious rather than judgmental. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" you might ask, "What did I learn this week?" or "What would support me better next week?" You're gathering information rather than making yourself wrong. The discipline is in staying honest with yourself while also being kind. You acknowledge when you haven't followed through on something without turning it into evidence that you're hopeless or lazy. You just notice what happened and consider what might help in the future. This approach creates safety in your relationship with yourself. You know you can trust yourself to be fair and supportive, even when you're not perfect. This safety makes it much easier to keep trying and growing over time. 15. The peace of purposeful pausing. Between any situation and your response to it, there's a small space where choice lives. Learning to find and expand that space is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It's the difference between reacting automatically and responding consciously. This might look like counting to 5 before responding to a frustrating email, or taking one breath before opening the refrigerator when you're not actually hungry. These tiny pauses create room for wisdom rather than impulse. The practice doesn't require stopping all action or overthinking every decision. It's just about creating a moment of choice in situations where you usually operate on autopilot. You're learning to be the conscious author of your responses rather than letting your reactions run the show. Over time, these small pauses create a sense of spaciousness in your life. You feel less rushed, less reactive, more intentional. You're moving through your day with awareness rather than just momentum. 16. The ritual of grateful closure. At the end of each day, there's value in taking a moment to acknowledge what happened rather than immediately moving into rest or worry about tomorrow. This doesn't have to be elaborate, maybe just naming one thing you're grateful for or one thing you did well. This practice of closure helps your mind complete the day rather than carrying unfinished mental energy into your sleep. It's a way of honoring your experience and marking the transition from today into rest. You might write down a few things in a journal or simply reflect quietly while you're getting ready for bed. The important thing is that you're choosing to end the day consciously rather than just collapsing into sleep. This ritual creates a sense of completion that makes rest feel more restorative. Your mind can let go more completely when it feels like the day has been properly acknowledged and released. 17. The wisdom of seasonal living. Just like the natural world has seasons of growth and rest, your energy and motivation naturally cycle through different phases. Working with these personal seasons instead of fighting them makes self-discipline much more sustainable. Sometimes you'll feel motivated to take on new challenges or push yourself to grow. Other times you'll need to focus on rest and maintenance. Both phases are valuable and necessary. The wisdom is recognizing which season you're in and adjusting your expectations accordingly. This might mean working intensively on a project when your energy is high and focusing on basic self-care when you're going through a difficult period. It's discipline that works with your natural rhythms rather than against them. When you honor your own seasons, you prevent burnout and maintain a healthier relationship with goals and productivity. You learn to be patient with yourself and trust that motivation and energy will return when the time is right.
18. The sacred ordinary. Perhaps the most profound discipline is learning to find meaning and peace in regular, everyday moments. This means bringing attention and care to simple activities, making breakfast, walking to your car, having a conversation with a friend. When you approach ordinary life with presence and appreciation, everything becomes a little more vivid and satisfying. You're not waiting for special occasions or achievements to feel content. You're finding contentment in the texture of daily life itself. This isn't about forcing gratitude or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that your life is happening right now, in these small moments, and choosing to be present for it rather than always focusing on what's next. The discipline is simply remembering to pay attention, to notice what's actually happening around you and within you. This creates a richness in ordinary experience that makes life feel more meaningful without requiring any external changes.